Go. Okay. So, our question of the day today, for our trivia crack, what did the term philosophes? Everybody, it's philosophes, not philosophes. How I went through a lot of my education thinking it was philosophes. It's not, it's philosophes. And then I'm like, what? When I read the textbook, I'm like, it's not philosophe? Oh, my whole world was turned upside down for a minute or two. But the philosophes mean in the 18th century, soldiers fighting for the monarchy, French aristocrats who sided with the church, Italian merchants in support of the nobility, cardinals who challenged the Pope, or French thinkers who challenged authority. Definitely, yes, definitely, because all those cardinals are always challenging the Pope. That's what we read about, the philosophes. No. So, everybody, it's a pretty straightforward answer. What is the answer? Can you make the letter of the day? Letter of the day? Oh, your head is the middle? Okay. It's definitely, yes, E. French thinkers who challenged authority. And the biggest thing here, two parts that are major big. French, because the Enlightenment began in France, and the challenge authority. We are not just going with the flow here. These people are saying what we are doing is wrong. The status quo is wrong. We are wrong for thinking this way, and it leads us to the French Revolution. Because people are waking up and saying, you're right, it isn't right. You're right, we don't have to do it this way. Huge advancements. So, yesterday we started looking at the Enlightenment there for a little while, and we discussed print culture and the impact of print culture. What is the impact of print culture on the Enlightenment?
Spreads the ideas.
It spreads the ideas, yes, like Nutella that I had this morning on a croissant for breakfast. It was a glorious breakfast. But how was the Enlightenment, like what was going on with print culture? Not just publishing of books and people were reading them, but what else was going on that also helped the Enlightenment move around? Shay.
People could really bring their ideas, and then more people would be able to read it because it wasn't only about religion at the time.
Right. We were writing about all sorts of different things. Yes.
News.
Yes, newspapers. So people were getting updates of the day and what's going on. And so they weren't living totally in the dark anymore, not just with literature and science and everything else, but just day-to-day stuff going on with their government. They were able to get newspapers and see what's going on and how it impacts them. Good. What else? This is not the PowerPoint. What else was going on with this type of deal? Public opinion. Why is that such a big deal?
Now the monarchs had to go, or the upper people had to cater to the lower people.
Yep, upper people had to cater to the noble people. The government had to be afraid of the people, not the people afraid of the government anymore. And so we are changing this concept of who is in charge, who's important, who matters in the end. And it's the people, not the peasants, because we still have the peasants in the countryside not reading and not writing and not doing anything. But we have more and more of a population growing towards knowing and understanding and having an impact and having an understanding and having an opinion about everything. And so, big time impact here. Okay, so picking up where we left off then, which is here, we also see a step backward a little bit because of the Central European governments. Remember, this is more advanced in France and Britain than it is across Central Europe, the Habsburg and the Hohenzollerns, and then also into Russia, where they need this enlightenment and they're not getting it. They censored books, book burnings, index of forbidden books, and it was not good. So, yes, Fahrenheit 451 all over again. Good job bringing in modern literature. Well done, friend. So, Elizabeth, my friend, could you grab the lights, please? Thank you. Yes, let me cross the classroom lady sitting on her stool. Let me take care of that for you. All right. Well, we remember the last time I crossed the room and the camera fell over and we didn't know what to do and it was very bad.
Hey, Jenna.
Sorry, Jenna. Yeah. So here we go. Picking up with who are these people? The philosophes. Everybody together. Philosophe. Okay. This time with energy. Ready? Philosophes. What? What? Something went down that was funny.
I thought it was philosoph.
Or like a pillow. Philosophes. No. Philosophes. Right? Yes, because it says philosophes in the little side column on page 315 here. But these are the people that are doing the Enlightenment. They are Enlightenment doers. They are the writers and the thinkers and the people sitting around the coffee houses and the salons chatting about deep thoughts. Because wouldn't it be great to just be a deep thinker? I'm going to get paid to think. It's kind of like think and write. It's a modern day guy, Stephen Hawking. Like, I'm going to think about this and I'm going to write books on it and I'm going to be so smart that nobody really understands me. And it's amazing. Like, that's what these people did. Like, we think about it, we do it. Some of them were scientists, or they did it, and then they wrote about it, and people were like, wow, you're really great. So, but they were the people who favored change. They saw society, they looked at society, and did not just accept society. They looked at society with a very critical eye and said, what is wrong here? How can we fix this? Why do we do what we do? Why do we accept this as okay? We need to change it up a little bit, said the philosophes. They advocated toleration. That is a huge part here, because when we talk about the religion, when we compare and contrast religion in the Enlightenment, we're going to look at quite a bit of who is being tolerated. Who says we should tolerate? Well, other people are like, no toleration. But again, we're going to look at it in two major frames here. The Enlightenment and Jews, and the Enlightenment and Muslims, because those are the two major religions that are really pushed back against, not just like the Catholics where it's kind of nudged against. Where did we find these philosophes doing their work? Some of them were at universities, because remember, universities were slow to pick up the change. They were okay with it, but they just were slow to pick up on it. And so they had some philosophes in their universities, but universities are still focused on a humanistic learning, and we've moved on from humanism since the scientific revolution, because they said we've done everything in the old school that we can do, we need to move on. So we got some of these thinkers working as professors. Others are just hanging out, doing their deal, going to the coffee houses, being invited to the salons, schmoozing and bumping shoulders with the kings and the monarchs and the leaders of this area, because those people like deep thinkers. They may not understand it. It's kind of like, you're really smart. I want to hang around you because you're really smart, and I can't understand you, but you're really kind of cool. Because I don't get it. So I like it. What?
Max Anderson.
I don't know Max Anderson. Is he?
36.
Oh.
Was he on the news?
Yeah.
I feel like I saw him on the news.
Yes, he was on the news. Yes, the news came to Kimberly for our perfect ACT dude. So it is impressive. But so they kind of just hung out with people because people wanted to be around them. It's kind of like, maybe if I sit next to you and talk to you, I will soak up some of your knowledge and brilliance, and I will be just like you. And so wealthy people invited them around. What did they support? If you had to group philosophes in the Enlightenment, what were they all about? Expansion of trade. Get out there. Mercantilism. Yay. Go nuts. Why shouldn't we try to be as wealthy as possible? Wealth equals power. So let's go for it. Don't let anybody else win. Improvement of agriculture. Remember, we talked about this. Better food means longer lives, means better life. Why wouldn't you? And that's kind of the whole theme of the philosophes. Why wouldn't we want to improve? Because we should. If we can, why live in the dark ages when we can go forward? And a lot of the governments are like, ugh, we don't like that advancement. And so that's where we get the clashing. Improvement of transportation. Build better roads. Pay for it. It's money in the end. It's going to be worth it. Because if you have better roads, you have better movement. You have better trade. Pay the money. Ugh, I don't know. Just do it. It only makes sense. Invention of new manufacturing industries. Factory system. Why live in the old? Why have the cottage industries? Why do this when we can have more people at work, which means more people are getting paid, which means more people have a better quality of life? Win, win, win. Build the factory, darn it. And so some governments listened and did. Others did not. And they were very adept at attracting wealthy supporters. A lot of these guys knew how to schmooze the women. Straight up, because they would go to these important women who didn't have jobs, they had influence in their social circles and be like, hey, I got ideas and I want to chat in your living room about my ideas. And they're like, okay. And so this is very similar to the artists of the Renaissance. Like, hey, take me in, pay for me, and I will sit around in your house and do big things in my brain and write about them. And people are like, so I can then say that I have Voltaire living in my upstairs bedroom? Yep, go nuts. Okay. Come on over, Voltaire. And some of them, as you're reading, are like a little creepy. Because one of them, what's his name? One of them had like 18 kids. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He sired numerous children whom he abandoned to foundling hospitals. Like, he would love the ladies and leave them. And then when she'd be like, baby daddy, you gonna support this baby? No. Nope, you were fun while it lasted. Check you later. And so they kind of schmooze their way through circles and like get money and move on. So we're not saying that these guys are like paragons of virtue either. Not the best men ever, because they're just, you gonna give me money? A little action on the side? Sweet. And then they move on. They're kind of losers that way. But they're smart losers. They're historically smart losers. So, our first philosophe, Voltaire. That's his pen name. His name is not actually Voltaire. It's a nice long one. Oh no, not really long. Francois Marie Arouet, for lack of a French accent. Francois Marie Arouet. Arouet? Anyone? Graham?
I have no clue.
Can you look up from your phone and at least look? Fran? No?
Part of we had.
What?
Part of we had.
Oh my gosh, your book isn't even open. All right.
Very mad.
Okay. Catch up with us. Thank you. We're on page, 316.
Wait, we're that far already?
Yes, sir.
Oh my god.
Wow. Okay. What are you doing on your phone? Now you're stuck.
My grade.
What?
I was gonna check my grade and see what it would be after you add those 10 points.
If you're not reading your book, why would you even check?
315 or 316?
316. Doodlebug 316.
I'm there.
Okay, so see under philosophes and patrons,
Yep.
the sixth line down, Francois Marie Arouet.
I think you actually got Francois right.
Yep, Francois. I know Francois. Arouet?
I think it's our way.
Okay. Well, we got our linguist guy saying Arouet. We've got we think he speaks French guy saying Arouet. I think we're good to go. Dude, you get caught on your phone? I tease.
Hit.
Sucks you. Yes.
Actually, inside.
What? Put that away. Give me your phone. Grab right now.
Translate, and then I'm gonna put the like.
I don't care anymore. Bring me your phone.
Can I give it to Cooper?
No, you cannot give it to Cooper. Cooper's like, I don't want your phone.
Pass it off.
Oh my God. Seriously. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay. Thank you. I hope you get a text because I'm still figuring out how to get in there and read it. All right.
I actually got Pascal, so I have to swipe.
Oh, sweet. Come on, baby. Throw us a text. Okay. So anyway, we got our first guy, Voltaire. He was not liked by the French government. at all, because he criticized, he looked at the French government, he looked at the French way of life, and he wrote and criticized it. And he's like, we can do this better. But the French monarchs were not all about that. We're getting into the era post-Louis the 14th, where Louis was a really good leader. He understood what he needed to do for his people. And then his descendants were ones that did not pay attention to the people. And so the conditions in France were getting worse and worse and worse. And Voltaire saw this and wrote about it. And the French were like, oh, that's not cool, buddy. And they imprisoned him for his thoughts. They imprisoned him for offending the French. He offended his own people, and they threw him in the Bastille, the city prison of Paris. So after he got out, he continued doing his work, and they're like, no, you can't do that here. And so he went to England. He went into exile. He's like, well, if you don't like what I'm doing here, then I better leave, or you're gonna like kill me or throw me into prison for life where I can't do my work. So he went into exile in England, continued his work, continued his criticisms of government, and hid, basically. He ran far and fast, and the French couldn't grab him in England, and England wasn't going to give him up because he was bringing them fame. Because one of his published works in 1733 was Letters on the English. He compared and contrasted the English government to the French government, and he's like, England's got it going on. This makes total sense. This whole idea of limited monarchy, a parliamentary monarchy, after the glorious revolution of William and Mary, this is what people should be doing. We should have power to the people. We like these freedoms, especially freedom of religion. You want to worship? Are you bothering anybody else? No? Okay, then worship. Just do what you need to do. Why do we criticize people for their beliefs? If they're not hurting anybody and not offending anybody, have at her. But that wasn't the case in France. Remember, this is the French Wars of Religion place. Even though we had all the religions were now legal, and okay, that didn't mean that they were okay in the minds of the people. And so the French government was still heavily Catholic, still promoted Catholicism, and it didn't work in France. So he was all pro-England. So England, of course, was like, this is great. He's our poster child, and he's not even English. He likes us. Let's keep him around. Let's keep him safe. And the wealthy women were like, hey, come hang out in my living room. This is awesome. And so they got like kudos in society for allowing Voltaire to live there. Another great work of his is 1738, Elements of the Philosophy of Newton. He really liked what Newton was doing, all of Newton's gravity work, and so he wrote basically fan fiction for Newton. And was like, he's the guy. Here's why I think he's the guy. And Newton published his work, of course, because he was in the scientific realm, but nobody read it. So what Voltaire did was he took Newton's work and put it into everyday common man language and wrote a book about it and said, this is what Newton thinks, this is what Newton did, this is why it's so awesome. And people read it and were like, yeah, you're right, go Newton. That's why I call it like Newton fan fiction, because he wrote it about Newton, explaining Newton, and then celebrating it. And then his biggest work, when you think of Voltaire, the work that comes to most historians' mind is Candide. And Candide is a work, excuse me, still widely read. It's satire. What's satire? A sarcastic work written as if it's true. A common satire today is, oh crud, what's his name? He just finished a show on Comedy Central. Stephen Colbert. Jon Stewart is straight up, but Stephen Colbert, he's like Mr. like America, Mr. Republican, and he's making fun of that by showing like he's the mega guy. So if you've ever seen Stephen Colbert at work, I am America and you can be too, or something like that. I'm America and you can too. Yes. I mean, his work is just ridiculous, but it's what made him famous. And so this is the same deal. Here is the satire attacking war, religious persecution, and unwarranted optimism about the human condition. And he's basically saying in the book, life isn't all that great, and here's why. He believed that human society could and should be improved, but didn't think that it would ever be permanent. Like, even if we did reform these things, it's never going to last because humans don't want it to last. We're too greedy. We're too set in our own ways and our old school ways of doing things that even if we do try to advance society to a certain point, it's never going to stick. So he was kind of a want pessimist at the same time. Like, he's like, we have the capabilities, we have it in us to make life great for everybody from peasants to kings, but we just don't do it because we don't want to change us. We're comfy. But if we just put in the changes, we'd be really good for everybody. So, Voltaire, major guy of the Enlightenment. Here he is writing, because why wouldn't you have, the angels and cherubs around you when you are writing? This is on, where are you?
313.
There it is. This is him, the cover of Elements of the Philosophy of Newton. Voltaire is writing a light deflected from the celestial Newton by a woman, his muse and lover, Emily. So here's Emily, his muse and lover, and I always find it interesting, like, oh, beautiful woman, you've inspired me to write greatness about Newton. Like, how is that your muse? Okay, that sounds good. But here's Newton himself. I mean, Newton is providing the light for him to write his work about Newton while he's floating on a cloud. I mean, this is an amazing picture. Emily helped Voltaire work through and come to understand Newton's Principia Mathematica during the course of her own translations. Emily was smarter than Voltaire. Emily translated Voltaire's work into different languages. And as she's doing it, Voltaire's like reading over her shoulder saying, what does he mean by that? Well, let me tell you, honey. What? And then he's like, whoa, no way. That's amazing. So let's think about that. Emily's doing the work, he writes the fan fiction, and he gets the credit forever. And Emily's like, yeah, but I'm the one that like wrote it in 3 different languages. Go women. With her little pennant flag. Yay, me. Great. I just get to be, the half-naked lady up in the clouds providing the light. There's womankind in a nutshell right there. Yeah, and why, I want to know, why is it always one lady part exposed? Why one bosom open and out there and the other one is covered? Like, we're going to see this too in the revolutions of 1830 with the big picture of Lady Liberty in France, like leading the march. And you're like, why does she have to be topless? Is she that ingrained in the war field that she needs to be half naked? Did she not realize that her shirt fell off in the middle of revolutions? I don't know. But we'll see that picture. You've known it already, but it's great.
Like a Coldplay album?
Yes. Because, I laser you again. It is because the song Viva la Vida, what is it, Coldplay, Viva la Vida, is about the French Revolution and Louis XVI. So, but yeah, there she is, just hanging out there, providing the inspiration, when really she did the work first. Men. All right, so the Enlightenment and religion. We get into some interesting work here with religion because Enlightenment thinkers are not always all on the same page with religion. And it's interesting to see their thoughts here. The Enlightenment challenged the church in the concept of original sin. Why are we born with sin? They're saying, so a baby comes out of the womb and it's got sin. And we need to baptize it to get rid of original sin. Really? So we all have to take on the concepts of sin because of the Bible story? Like, this didn't work for the philosophes and religion. Because it doesn't make sense to them that we would have original sin. And so that was the first thing that they challenged. Like, this thought just did not make sense. And then they're like, once they sat down and thought about it, they're like, you know what else I don't really like about the church? And they started just thinking about this and critiquing it. Like, why do we do it this way? Why do we enforce it this way? It doesn't make sense to us. So the church was not just challenged for its thoughts, but its practices. The church, they said, owned all this land. They have tons of land. Why don't they pay any taxes on the land? Yes?
Is this talking about just the Catholic Church?
Mainly the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Scapegoat Catholic Church, yes. Why don't they pay taxes? They have all this land, they have all this wealth, everybody else is paying taxes. Why isn't the church? It's a really good question. Why isn't it? Involvement in politics. We're getting to this idea that church and state should be separate. Why does the church have so much pull with the monarch? Unless you're in England where church, king is pope. Everywhere else, they should not have a say in anything. So what? Why? And that why is why when they sit around and ask, why does this have to be this way? That's when the philosophes get into trouble. Why? Why can't we change it? And literary censorship. Who is the church to tell us what we can and cannot read? I want to learn. So why are they telling me what I can and cannot read in order to learn? Index of forbidden books? That's ridiculous. We shouldn't have that. So, we should just... Why does the Catholic Church get away with this? And so we have these questions. This is a picture of the coffee houses. This is on page 317. And coffee houses, like, this is a satire picture that they're putting their own needs ahead, like the coffee houses' needs ahead of their political loyalty. Like, you shouldn't be encouraging these thoughts to go on in your coffee house. You should be loyal to the crown first and foremost, because they're the people that are ruling you. And they're like, yeah, but if I bring in all these philosophes and they sit around in my coffee house and chat, then I'm making money off them. So I should be allowed to do this. So we have this image of the coffee house patriots as we see. Okay, so then what the philosophes want to do is combine religion and reason. And what we get from this is a thought on faith called deism. And deism is an interesting abstract thought about religion. It's religion without faith. And it's hard to explain deism. They kind of compare it, we talked about it a little bit in the scientific revolution, of God as a clockmaker. God put us all here, and then he was hands off. And he put society on earth, and he's like, okay, no, you guys just figure it out for yourself. There's no divine intervention. There's no, like, you were put on this earth to do this. There's no, God intends for me to do this. He doesn't care. God is literally sitting back with his bowl of potato chips and watching it all go on. Right? Is that kind of deism, isn't it not? Like...
Yeah. It's really hard to understand. I know in our intro to the Bible class, that was like, wait,
yeah.
what?
Yeah. So you believe in a God, you believe in a higher power. He's there, he, she, it, the tree is there. But they don't have they're not playing into your lives. He's not making sure that like, oh, God intended for me to be there that day when that all happened. I was meant to be there to save that life. No, it was all accident. Because he doesn't care. That's the kicker to me. He's like, God doesn't care? He just puts us out there? Yep. So you just there's no faith, there's no praying, because there's no need to get an intervention from God, or the saints, or the Blessed Virgin, or anybody else, because he's just there. You appreciate that God put you there. But he didn't really put you there. He put the first people there. And how you ended up here is all luck. So we're removing faith from religion here. We had some major deists here in the United States as well. This idea was not just stuck in France. Thomas Jefferson was a huge deist. He said, we can have God. God is there. There's a God. But he doesn't do anything for us. Benjamin Franklin was another big deist. We're not exactly sure where George Washington was on all this scale, but we think he leans more towards deism than not. Because they said you can't reasonably think that God put you there and is got his fingers in the game. That doesn't make any sense on a reasonable sort of mind. So, going back to the scientific revolution, talking about the religion and science deal, this is like the outcome of all of that. Yep, there's a God, but it's not any type of mystical, any type of supernatural. And this was first written about by John Toland in Christianity Not Mysterious in 1696. What a great book title. Christianity Not Mysterious. Okay, that sounds good. As natural and rational, deism is tolerant, reasonable, capable of encouraging virtuous living. Now that does not mean to say that you get to just run like crazy while you're living on earth. No, you still got to be a good person. You still got to live with virtue. You still got to try to get into heaven. Because there's some form of afterlife out there. Most deists believe that there's some form of afterlife. And you don't want to end up in the bad afterlife. But some hardcore deists said, no, when you die, you're just gone. There is no heaven because God doesn't provide for an afterlife. God just got us here and is watching. Like a TV show, like the Truman Show. And that's it. Like, that's what he is, right? Yeah, because some deists didn't have heaven. They just, you died and there's no soul because there's no connecting you to the afterlife. You just are. When you die, you get put in the ground and you turn into worm food, and that's it. It's an interesting concept to not have, like, and it's totally different from any religion that we had at this time because we're still so excommunication, fear of hell, fear of the devil, fear of everything else, especially in the countryside. And now we're getting into a different thought. So we have some religious toleration in literary works. John Locke, he's our guy, tabula rasa guy. He wrote Letter Concerning Toleration, and he said, if you have to be tolerant. How can you judge? Judge not lest you be judged. You can't judge anybody because then you are up for judging. And if you want to live a virtuous life, just leave everybody else alone. Live and let live. Just be. Just be. Yep. Just go. Voltaire is another guy, treatise on tolerance. And this is an interesting letter interesting work that Voltaire wrote. He called out the Catholic Church. He's like, yo, Catholics, why? Why'd you kill the Huguenot? Jean Calas. What did he do to you? Was he that bad? In the Catholic Church, do you think they took lightly to this? No. They didn't like being called out like this. But he's like, I want answers. Tell me why you thought it was okay to kill this man for being a Huguenot and acting in a Huguenot way. Tell me why. And that's what gets Voltaire in trouble. Because you don't call out the church. Just like you don't call out the French government. So, then we also have Gotthold Lessing, who wrote Nathan the Wise. And this is looking at all religions, not just Christianity. Tolerate Judaism. Tolerate Muslims. Why wouldn't we? Who cares if they pray to a cross or a crescent moon or a six-pointed star? Who cares? If it doesn't affect you, then it doesn't matter. Just love. Love is all you need. Geez, we're getting Beatles references everywhere here. Let it be. Love is all you need. So, speaking of which, whoever thought, because I heard this song today and then I was reading it on my radio, whoever thought to put Rihanna and Paul McCartney together on a song? That is the weirdest song ever. And what is it? I got 4 or 5 seconds to what? What is she saying? Yeah, and Kanye West is warbling in the background. And what does Paul McCartney do? I don't even hear him. Is he plunking that guitar? Yeah. Ping, 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 ping. Amen. Or a deist. A whatever. I'm just not, I don't know. I heard it for the first time today. I'm like, I got 4 or 5 seconds to what? I don't know what she's saying. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I don't have to like it to find it catchy. But
It's Friday was also catchy.
yes. Call me maybe. I can't get out of my head when that sucker gets in there. Yeah. All right. So, little side question there, because when you hear something for the first time, I spent the whole way to work going, what? Rihanna? Paul McCartney? Oh, Kanye? Yeah, Kanye. I didn't even know he sang anymore. I thought he just looked crabby next to Kim Kardashian, who never, ever should have dyed her hair blonde. Not that I'm a huge fan, but she looks a little weird. All right. So, it's just weird. She doesn't have the coloring for platinum hair. Am I the only one that thinks that? Like, you haven't seen it? Take a peek. It's weird. You want Graham's phone? Take a look at it. What?
Why are we talking about platinum hair?
That wasn't bad.
Kim Kardashian came up. Weren't you following? Pay attention, dude. All right.
Draco Malfoy now?
A little bit. There's a little bit of Draco Malfoy in that look. Does she look like? And Harry Potter comes out everywhere. Graham, you get some points back there. 10 points to you. Boom. Does she? Because it came out of nowhere. Does she look like Draco Malfoy? Yes, in a sense. Yes. Oh, and also, because we're on Harry Potter now, Hottie McHottie Neville is in a new show for the BBC, and he's a soldier, and I'm like, Neville.
Did you see how Emma Watson tweeted to him?
Yes, I saw that. I'm like, that's not Neville. And then I look closer, and I'm like, holy oh God, it's Neville. And he's a hot soldier with scruff. Hufflepuff for the win there. He's awesome. He's something else. So, all right, but anyway, then we get into some radical criticisms here. And this is an interesting one here. David Hume, who we're going to talk about again. And he is all about empiricism, all about proving it. Empiricism, he's like,